Welcome to TBR Live. Interesting conversation with interesting people. Today is the first part in a three-part segment. We're going to sit down with Mr. Teddy L. Lewis. We're going to talk about love and family. We're going to talk about disappointments, triumphs, victories, and a whole lot of other stuff. So stick around. Part 1, Mr. Teddy L. Lewis. TBR Live. Interesting conversation with interesting people. Let's go.
My name is full name, legal name, Theodore Lewis Jr. Everybody calls me Teddy. That was my nickname growing up. But I still kind of go by Teddy. So if I get a phone call asking for Theodore Lewis Jr., then it's probably a bill collector or somebody I don't want to talk to. But my daddy gave me that name, so I'm named after him. So I claim it very proudly.
Okay, all right. So if you could give us a little bit about your background and anything you wanna share with us to get us rolling.
Well, born and raised Nashville, Tennessee. On south, it started out South Nashville, out by Belmont College. The youngest of two. My father's family is actually from Nashville. My mother's actually from Savannah, Georgia, and my sister she's up in Detroit now, but she's 3 years older than me, and I've been here in Atlanta with my wife and my two kids for 25 years now, and been trying to in the game, the music industry, TV, film. Started in Nashville. I'm a product of Whites Creek Comprehensive High School. Was a drum major, marching band under my we call him Daddy C. Mr. Churchwell was our band director. Graduated Whites Creek, went on to Tennessee State, and all I wanted to do was be in the band. Okay. And I did that. I was a proud member of the aristocratic bands, and also served drum major 2 years for Tennessee State. In my senior year, it was 3 of us, and we were all from Whites Creek. It was me, my homeboy Grant Winrow, and Marty Tipton, or Morris Tipton. They're now both back in Nashville. But we were all 3 of us, Mr. Churchwell's products, Whites Creek, and we were very proud to lead TSU's band. Met my wife in the band. Okay. She's from Virginia, met her my senior year. So, I was the big man on campus as a drum major. She was a freshman. So, I had to do what I do. And she came in and, at first glimpse, I was like, okay, all right. And she jokes on me now because I used to, try to, make her do laps and call out during pre-drill and their practice. But she would always, soft talk me and, talk her way out of stuff. And we started dating, that was in '87, man. So we, as of last year, it's been 30 years. And we've been, this year we became a couple in '88. So this is like our 30th year as a couple. Been married going on 25 now. So I have a lot of, music was my foundation, entertainment was my foundation, business as well. My dad was, and I just lost my pops just about over a month ago, man. So, I'm very, very proud to say, I'm Theodore Lewis Jr., I'm Ted Lewis Jr., but my dad was in business on his own for 60 plus years. And he was in real estate. And matter of fact, on the north side of town, Bordeaux side, Haynes Manor side, my father helped develop a lot of those neighborhoods and sold a lot of those houses. And so I had to work with him. I was put to work at the age of 13. My dad and my uncle had a store in South Nashville that was inside. It was a complex called Edgehill Village, which is on Hillside Drive between Wedgewood and Edge Hill, over there by where Rose Park, it was, I think, Rose Park Elementary School. But my dad ran that apartment complex called the Edge Hill Village. And at 13, he and my uncle, they had a grocery store inside the complex. And he and my uncle, his baby brother, they were like, you going to work. I was not asked, I was told, this is what you're gonna do. So my uncle, he, all I was working on Saturdays, started out in the summer. So he was like, all right, because my name was, I was boy till I got probably about 25. I was the only, out of the Lewis household, or the Lewis family. My dad, there was 6 siblings. My dad was the oldest boy. And so he took over his dad's business. When his dad passed away, my dad was about 27, he had to take over the business and then take care of the family. So I was Ted Lewis Jr., so there was a lot that came along with being Ted Lewis Jr. So my dad and his, I was not just raised with my dad, I was raised by his other 2 brothers. And they were raised, my grandfather was John T. Lewis Sr., and so it was always about, how their dad raised them. So I was put to work at 13. And my uncle was like, all right, boy, so I'm gonna come pick you up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. And I'm like, man, what about Bugs Bunny? I'm like, I can't, 6 a.m. So he would, all right, I'm gonna be there at 6 a.m. I'm gonna blow the horn. But what he didn't tell me, he wasn't gonna blow the horn, he's gonna toot the horn. So then he was like, so if you don't come out, then I'm pulling off. So then my reality was, okay, I know if I'm not out that door, if my uncle pulls up, and he had a El Camino, and we would go from there and go to the farmer's market to pick up the produce for the store. And he would pull up, and he would just toot the horn, toot toot. Wasn't no horn blow. It was just a quick toot. And my job was to be standing at attention at the door, be ready to exit the front door and get in the car. And I knew that if my father woke up and my little tail was still in the bed, all hell was gonna break loose. So my butt was up. Didn't nobody wake me up. I was 13. So I had my little alarm clock. I made sure I was up. I don't even know if I might have brushed my teeth. I don't know what. I just got up, threw some clothes on, and my tail was, when my uncle, I never missed not one Saturday when my uncle came to pick me up. And we would go to farmer's market, load up the back of the El Camino with all, turnip greens, bushels of turnip greens, fruit, produce, all this stuff. And then go open up the store, and I would work till about 4 or 5 o'clock. My mom would come pick me up. And on my first day, my uncle was like, all right, boy, I'm gonna pay you $48 a Saturday. I was like, $48? And he was like, so how you want it? Back then, I wasn't on no, wouldn't get no paycheck. It was, I was underage, so he couldn't issue a W-2, so it was cash. So he was like, how do you want it? And I was like, once. And every Saturday, man, my uncle, and he was very good at counting. I've never become a really good, money counter, but my uncle, he was almost like, it was almost like a pimp style. It was like, what. So, man, I would get $48 in ones every Saturday. And you talk, that was like, for me, that was like $1 million. And I did that, man. That was my summers. And then it progressed to being during the week. And then by the time I got in high school, then my dad put me to work at the management office of the complex. And his thing was, he wanted me to be exposed to work, period. Understanding that if you were a street sweeper, you'd be the best street sweeper you can be. So it wasn't about him wanting to keep me in a cushy job. He wanted me to have the experience of just knowing how to work, no matter what it is. So my dad put me to work in the management office and had me work with the maintenance crew. And he had me, I was going around in the mornings with a trash bag and a stick picking up trash. He had me on trash detail. I would go and do, with the maintenance guys, and do maintenance repairs, because my dad was a big carpenter. That was the family trade also. My dad would rehab houses. So I was always, it was always painting, doing lawn work. Saturdays it was you didn't sleep. My dad would come, kick the door in, wham, get up. We got to go pave the street. We got to go pave. We got to go put on the roof. We got to go do this. And so it was, I would complain, but my thing was, man, the blessing, for me was I'm able now to do anything that I need to do. If I got to fix something around the house, I don't know how to fix everything, but I know the basics of electrical work, plumbing work. If the toilet messes up, I know where to start. I know a little bit about what to do with car maintenance, and especially with painting, and especially lawn work. Because I was doing cutting the grass, and my dad one point we had a big commercial Gravely tractor that you could hook up the seat and ride it, or you could walk with it. And Dad went and got a trailer to put in the back of his Chevy. And then my job was on Saturdays. He'd take me out to he had properties all over, and had several properties on East Nashville. And there was one summer, there was a house that was rental property, and the grass had just gotten overgrown. Literally, it was like a forest. And Dad he'd get me up on Saturday. We'd load up the Gravely on the trailer and roll out to East Nashville and pull up. And this is, East Nashville. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, looking, I was, Afro. Big, back then, my glasses, it was like some big Run DMC Urkel glasses. I was the perfect nerd. I was perfect for getting picked on, but I was raised to not be fearful. Right. But it wasn't nothing that said cool. There was nothing that was cool about anything what I did. And, I was skinny, and tried to grow a big fro, but it was just, kind of a square fro. But, I could see for miles because all my glasses were like, these big glasses. And so Dad would drop me off in East Nashville in an alley. And you got drunks walking up, talking to themselves, you got the dudes, the cats in the neighborhood coming down. This is an alley in East Nashville. He'd pull up and he'd drop me off. We'd get the lawnmower and he'd leave me with the lawnmower, a weed eater, a sickle, so I could, chop through the grass, and an axe. So his thing was, if you see any snakes, this is what you use the axe for. And then he would leave. He would be like, all right, come back. I'll bring you some lunch. I'll be back at 12. And Dad would leave me back then. The orange juice would come like in the glass jars. So it wasn't no bottled water. You didn't buy bottled water like you do now. So Dad would always take a glass orange juice bottle, fill it up with water, tap water. Yeah. And so it wasn't cold, and so it was like a orange juice water cocktail. Okay. So it was, but when you out there in the heat, hey, it was water. Yeah. So he'd leave that jar with me, and he'd be like, all right, when I come back, you better have half of this yard better be done. And literally, it was up to the grass was up with, the weeds had grown into little trees. It was like up to my chest. So I had to hit it with the sickle, come through with the sickle, and then get the Gravely and then mow it down. And I knew, I said, I better, couldn't lollygag. I had to get half of that, be halfway done, if not all the way done, by the time he came back with lunch. And lunch was always some Burger King. He'd always bring me every time. He'd bring me Burger King, and he'd sit and we'd eat in the car or either eat on the back stoop of the house, and he'd stay with me and eat. Because Dad always worked. He was always, on the weekends he was doing appraisals, so he was always working. So my work ethic, it started there. Okay. I would complain, but the thing was, it wasn't about what I wanted to do. It was about what he felt was best for me. And so, all that now, especially with just losing him last month, and spending those last few days when he was in the hospital and really some valuable time with him, that's who I am, is because of him. Now, I didn't go into real estate, but I still have an entrepreneurial spirit as far from a business point of view. But I got the entertainment bug from both of them. My mom was a singer, but as we were preparing for my dad's funeral and I was writing his obituary, I didn't realize that Dad was in theater. He was a graduate of Pearl High School back in class of '49 in Nashville, and he was in the drama guild and was in plays. Didn't realize that. So he was an orator. So that's why I became I'm a speaker. I like to speak, and I was in competition in forensics in junior high school at Jolton Junior High School and won awards. And but I get it from both of them. My mom was a singer. She came to Tennessee State and actually had a demo deal with RCA Records back in the late '50s. She met Dad. Dad had already finished TSU. And she met him, and she was poised to trying to create this music career. And she was like a Nancy Wilson, very beautiful voice. Still has a very nice voice. And we even have a demo, like I don't know if it's a '78. It's a wax demo at her house, man. It's like way thick, and I need to convert it digital, to digital. But she ended up decided to go the family route, and then she ended up. She was at Tennessee State, and she ended up started teaching at Tennessee State. Even went on when I went there. She was actually dean of students. Okay. When I got there, that was a good and a bad thing. But if I need to get into a class, right, she could get me in there. Right. But my entertainment bug, as being in the marching band, being a musician, I played the alto saxophone, which is my dad played the saxophone. I actually have the silver Buscher saxophone that my dad played, but he didn't give it to me until I got to college. Okay. He wanted to make sure that I was really serious. So to this day, I take pride in that horn because it's an antique. My thing in the band, it was a performance. It was entertainment. It was like going on tour. Our shows with high step and HBCU bands. This is before there was a drum line and all. I mean, it was on tour. Mm-hmm. We get off the bus, it's like we Michael Jackson. We pull up and people, are coming at you, wanting, take pictures with you, and the little kids are, wanting to do what we do, marching beside us. So it was always about showtime. So I'd met a friend, good friend of mine, Carolyn Miller, that's she's from West Tennessee. Met her in the band. She was a year behind me. She had started her own little production company called Soft Touch Productions. Okay. So Carolyn, we became friends, and we called her Soft Touch. That was her nickname. And so she started a company called Soft Touch Productions. So she brought me in because I was everybody knew I was the astute business person. But the thing was, I was majoring in communications. I was in speech communication and theater. One trying to do nothing business, one trying to take no math classes, I was all about getting in front of the camera. And I would do mock commercials about, and my instructors, Dr. Donald Page, and he's still at TSU. He used to get on me at Teddy's, what are you talking about? I mean, I'm a closet comedian. So my class productions, I'd do a commercial, hey, do you have gas? I'd make up this, I'd go home and make up something, get gas be gone. Do you ever have that uncontrollable feeling where your stomach is gurgling? I mean, I was always, because I was a closet comedian, because coming up in school at Jolton and in Whites Creek, I would, on the bus, I would get picked on. But I discovered, hey, if I can make folk laugh, they can leave me alone. I still got beat up here and there. But I was the comic relief. And so at TSU, didn't go, I passed all of my production classes. And Dr. Page would be like, he just shake his head every time. And I would get an A, because I would make sure it was production quality was done right. But it was like, what are you talking about? You got to talk about gas. And I think I would say stuff, I would use, hey, nothing like, when you fart. I would say fart, so... so I even, and the class would be cracking up. Oh, they'd just be, and Dr. Page would be, and he'd be sitting there like, Lord, this boy. And I ran into him a few years ago, man, at homecoming, and he was glad to see me. And I was like, "Hey, Dr. Page." But that was my thing. I wanted to be in front of the camera, and but I had this business side. So my girl Carolyn she was like, "We need, I'm always about business." So people in the band, when I became drum major, I was the leader of the band, and I was drum major for 2 years. So a lot comes along with that. And so I was good with people, and to this day I got people to say, "Hey, that's my drum major." Man, it's been 30 years now, and I still got people right now that will refer to me. They will introduce me to their kids. "This is my drum major." So that says a lot. But that was my whole persona. So people kind of, Teddy's serious, but those that really know me know that I have this completely aloof side. But in corporate America, in my working environment, people they just see me as just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And sometimes I don't want everybody to know exactly who I am, because my dad was like, you got to keep a little something in your back pocket. And then when you got it laid on them, you just drop it on them. So Carolyn brought me in, and I was like, "Girl, what you doing?" "Okay, all right." So she had some groups and was doing shows, and so she wanted me to help her with the business side. So we were doing little shows here and there, and even we got an office on Music Row. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the RCA, I think it's the RCA building, the round building on Music Row. I think that's the RCA building.
The RCA occurred.
Yeah. We had an office. So we were, I want to say, at that point in time, you didn't see an urban company with, young African Americans at the helm with an office in Music Row, on Music Row. So we were even featured in the Nashville Business Journal.
Wow. On
the front page, featuring us. And we were, at that time, the music, the gospel music scene was really starting to pop off. There was more urban stuff going on in Nashville. And I started managing. My first official group was a group of the lead singer was one of my homeboys that I'd known since Kings Lane Elementary. But the group was called Savoir Faire. Some of the guys were from Maplewood, and my main boy, my main guy, the lead singer, was Tevin Thompson. What's up, Tevin? And because we all, everybody grown, got families, but I always joking him was the best song. Boy, he would do a cover of Johnny Gill, My, and Tevin boy would just bring the house down. My, just break it, just knock it down. And that was my first official client, and we were featured in 92Q. Was that the station? 92Q in Nashville. They had something called 92Q Showdown or something. And I forgot the club. It was a club downtown on, was it 2nd Avenue, I believe, and it was a showcase, and it was a big thing in Nashville. Groups had to submit and be selected. And the funny thing about my story, man, is just it's so vast. And but at the time, my other homeboy that I got to give a shout out to, Mr. Lil G, Gary Jenkins from Silk. They just did a thing on Silk on Unsung on TV1. But Gary, been knowing him since Jolton, Whites Creek, and Gary even sung. He was our singer at TSU. So I got clips, on YouTube of the band performing with Gary on the mic. So every now and then I throw him out there like, yeah, Gary, remember this? But Gary had a group, so it was my group against Gary's group. And I think we would end up being, I want to say, and Gary, if you're out there, you can correct me. I can't remember because it's been many years. But I think we were 2 finalists, but Gary ended up winning. His group won. But we had it was a very exciting time back then. We even, I had Savoir Faire, we were performing at the Modern Era Club, which is a very, the history of the Modern Era Club is very historical in Nashville. But it was down there, was it Charlotte? We were the house band for a brief period of time there. Had some write-ups in some of the local papers and whatnot. And but I then, things were changed. I think by that time I want to say I had graduated TSU, but I was still focused on going into broadcasting. Wanted to be in front of the camera, and I was in the summer of or the spring of '88. I saw in the paper, because back then all we had was the paper. There was no internet, and they advertised that they were going to be filming Roots the Gift on ABC, which was a spinoff of the Roots series, Alex Haley's Roots. It was a Christmas story with LeVar Burton, Lou Gossett. I forget some of the other. What's my man that was? I forget. It's a black actor that was in. Avery Brooks, I believe, was his name. He was in it was an action show he was a part of back then. But I decided they were looking for extras, so I was like, okay, let me send my stuff in, and I got cast as a carriage driver. A lot of us from Tennessee State, ended up getting cast. And the funny thing was, the carriage drivers back during slavery, those were, the house slaves or the house Negroes. Mm-hmm. So being I'm, light skinned or brown paper bag, whatever you want to call it, I got cast, as this carriage driver. So we on set, and that was my first time being on set. They filmed it at the Hermitage, out in, Andrew Jackson's home. It was a Christmas story filmed in May in Nashville, the heat in Nashville. So they had fake snow, we had all this heavy, all this old stuff, the square, old shoes on, so my feet were hurting. And I wear a size 13, I don't think they had a size 13, so then I think it was like a 12. So, my dogs were just kicking. And we was on set for, 12, 13 hours, and no lines. But the hardest thing, I had to go back to all my drama classes at TSU, because we had to be cold. Okay. Then we had to act, we had to be a slave. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot that went into, without being verbal. You could not look anybody in the eye, you had to be very submissive. And there was one scene in my kids, and we still joke about it, because I was quite visible in a lot of scenes, and I've shown it to my kids, and they just crack up. My wife still jokes with me to this day, but it was a scene. We were in the barn, and Avery Brooks's character was a runaway slave. They captured him, brought him back, and we were the carriage drivers drove Lou Gossett's character Fiddler. And then Kunta Kinte went to another plantation for if I'm not mistaken, it was a Christmas celebration. So, of course, Fiddler came to provide the music, and I think, I forget why Kunta Kinte came. But they bring this Avery Brooks, and it was a very hard scene. And I remember he had to wear these, this big cast iron thing around his neck with these bells on it, and it was like, for real. It was cast iron for real. I mean, it was heavy. So they made it real so that he could really be in this role. And Avery Brooks is he's a great actor. So he was, in between takes, you couldn't even walk up to him, because he's just like, he's like barking at you. And there was this scene. They bring the overseers coming down onto this plantation with Avery Brooks. They got him in chains and shackles, and so Kunta sees it. We in this barn, because we were all with the carriage drivers. That's where we slept. That was our hotel room, was the barn. And Kunta came out and didn't like seeing him in these shackles. He goes out and tries to fight the overseers. And so then, of course, Fiddler, Lou Gossett's character, he peeks out of the barn. But of course, you can't back then, if basically Kunta, you on your own, because you can't go and defend Kunta, because then you all get beat or possibly lynched or whatever. So then, and Kevin Hooks directed it. Kevin Hooks, I don't know if you remember Kevin Hooks from years ago from the show The White Shadow. He's an African-American director. So I was just really impressed. Oh, I'm looking at, this is Roots, from Alex Haley. So I'm like, wow, Kevin Hooks, so it's an African-American director. So I'm like, we're at the Hermitage, on an actual, in slave quarters, real, So I'm like, it was a very surreal moment. So for whatever reason, they picked me to come out, to peek out of the barn with Lou Gossett. So Lou Gossett comes on, and then then I stick my head out. And the funny thing was, back then I had a high top, but I had to let my fade grow in some. So it's like, okay, what slave has a high top? Because I was going through my, kind of like a slightly a Bobby Brown phase. It was my Bobby Brown phase. It was my prerogative. That was my look. I wanted to be Bobby Brown. Then he had a Gap too. So I'm like, Bobby Brown's my man. New edition. That was so. I was going through my little, hey, but it worked for Roots. So I kept messing this scene up because I was supposed to look astonished and frightened and submissive, and man, I could not get this look. And boy, Kevin Hooks, cut. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. No, I need you to, and each time, they had to bring Avery Brooks up, and then they had to redo it. There was a fight scene. So they shoot, as you shoot each scene, the cameras have to set up, but you still go through everybody in the scene, still does the scene every time. You talk about feeling like, okay, I'm sorry, You got the director, the assistant AD, everybody's just like, oh, and LeVar Burton, and he was just like, he wasn't talking to nobody. He was just like, all right, hey, man, come on, dude, So I was like, okay, I got it. So now what I got is, now look, when you look out, you can't be, you can't look anybody in the eye. You just trying to see what's going on, but you got to look astonished and you're shocked, but you're scared. And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to make this look, I'm like, okay, hey, drama guild. I'm like, hey, I'm the man. I got this. And finally, and I'll never forget it, boy. And Lou Gossett, man, he sat me down and he said, look, you need to do, and he was very patient. He was very supportive because we were extras. So some of us, a lot of the extras were aspiring actors. This is my first time in front of the camera, aside from when I was at TSU doing my fart videos. Yeah. And he set me, he was just very, it was very, he wasn't, like, come on, man. He was like, look, this is what you need to do. You got to do so-and-so. Try it this way. Do this, do that. And it worked. And we finally got through the scene. But every time there was another scene, we were getting chased out the barn. They had found some other slaves. There was a lynching. They were going to hang them. So they wanted to bring all the slaves to watch. So they came and got us, and we had to, we had to run out the barn, and then again be astonished, scared, cold. And so I knew how to run, and we all kept messing that scene up, because we'd be like, So then my wife, and she cracks up. So I add a little extra. So I came out kind of like turned around like, oh. I add a little extra. I said, let me just do that. Let me just add a little something. So that was my claim to fame. And I was like, yeah, that's my man Lou Gossett. Lou Gossett wouldn't know me if I stepped on his big toe. But I always say, yeah, me and Lou, we go back because that we were on the set. We went to sitting down eating and we were talking. But it was a great experience, man. But the one thing I was like, so you got to be on set for 13 hours a day, and a lot of times you're just sitting, and then you take one scene and it takes you 2 hours to do a little 5-minute conversation. I was like, man, this is how do people do this? So I came out of that and I was like, I don't know about I ain't got the patience then I couldn't go to I was an extra, so I had to come dressed. So I had to drive out from Bordeaux to Hermitage in my 1865 colonial outfit. And back then I was wearing contacts. So I had my little shades on, and I get my little, I had my little Pontiac Sunbird, tinted windows, and I, had my little, had my wheel covers were painted white, I whited it out, because I was cool. They called me to the T. I had to the T on it of my tags. I was, I kind of morphed into my coolness at that point. Now, back, 10 years prior, I was just a straight geek, just nerd, would just get beat up at the store. Even other nerds would beat me up. But by then, I was popping whatever collar. And then I was dating my wife, too, and you know, she was fine. So I was like, everybody else was like, oh, how Teddy getting? I'm like, hey man, cause they called me to the T, bruh. Don't you know I'm the man with the plan. You know, so I roll out. I'm in my ruffled shirt, big old, can't even look down cause the shirt all up under here. Get in my Pontiac Sunbird. Cock to leaning to the side, turning on Cool Mo D, had my little equalizer on the stereo, had the equalizer mounted underneath the dash back, because back then you didn't have the stereos we have now. But I had, had put some new speakers in the back, so I was, you'd hear me bumping coming down the street. So I rolled out to the Hermitage. I'm like, hey, I'm here, and I get out the car, and all the tourists, they would see me. And I'd had to walk to the set, and I have my, I'm a Lewis, so we got the little Lewis stroll. So I'm like, shades on, black shades. I'm like, the wraparound shade, not no big, just wrap around. And everybody was like, who are they thinking I'm, is that Will Smith? Who is that? So he's a lot of, and it was, these are all, a lot of white people that were there to tour. And so they knew they were filming this Roots special there. So they thought I was somebody big. People stopped me, can we take your picture? Can you get your autograph? I'm like, yeah. I'm taking, because there wasn't no selfies back then. And I'm like, have my shades on. Everybody didn't see my name, like, Teddy Lewis. We thought you was like, no, you hear about me, because I'm, I'm talking, full of myself. You talk about, head just, cause I'm like, hey man, I'm on set with Lou. I'm eating with Lou Gossett, LeVar Burton. I got pictures with LeVar. I'm like, and so left that and.